Hello, my name is Caleb Smith, and I'm the editor at the Rocket Miner newspaper. I'd like to welcome you to Talk of the Town, where we're beginning our Rocket Miner Shares subcategory. We recognize that a lot of you are about to have quite a bit more time at home than maybe what you were expecting or possibly even wanting. It might be because you're self-quarantined. It might be because you're responsibly engaging in social distancing. It might just be because nobody wants to hang out now, so you got some extra time on the couch, or you just had some vacation time come up and you're staying close to home. Whether you're looking for something that will make you think, something that will make you cry, something that will make you laugh, something that will make you go, what was that? Let's watch it again. We're hoping to give you a couple more options when it comes to some of the things that we personally find interesting, to tell you both a little bit more about how we got involved with this stuff, what we think, and what we'll think you'll enjoy. What are the one-of-a-kind moments that we've experienced that we want to share with you because we want to give you these moments, and because we want to talk about it. And there are a few things that are more fun than being able to share an inside joke. When it comes to Mystery Science Theater 3000, or MST3K for short, this is a show that I have long loved. The basic premise of a guy kidnapped against his will, forced by evil scientists to watch the worst of the worst movies. Not just so bad it's good, but the movies that when you watch them, they make your soul hurt. They make you question any hope for civilization, to know that somebody with this crazed vision got other people to give them money to see this manifest on the movie screen, and then after they saw the results of that abomination went, let's inflict this on the public. To face such craziness and to be able to combat it with humor and wit and sometimes just a little bit of slapstick, that's how you get through a crazy world. Whether it's the movie that you're watching or the other things that are going outside your window or sometimes right in front of your face. I'm blessed to have gotten connected with Mystery Science Theater 3000 back when I was in 6th grade. In my school district back in Missouri, that was the year when all the TVs in the classrooms got connected to cable, which in hindsight was not the best use of public funds. Because what we primarily used it for is that we would watch Comedy Central on the days when it was rainy or stormy or sleeting out. We were hoping for a rain day or inside recess, because we'd go back to homeroom and then we'd vote, and if we moved quickly enough, we'd get 25 to maybe almost 29 minutes of Mystery Science Theater 3000, where we'd catch a movie in the middle of the plot and not necessarily understand what was going on, which in hindsight, in multiple viewings, this is just a part of my collection, I've got like more than 20 box sets, that just because you watch the movie from beginning to end does not necessarily mean you're going to understand it. Certainly these people who saw it over and over again still may not be able to tell you what the thesis statement or what they were thinking or what was going on. They're just there to point out the crazy acting, sometimes the wooden delivery, the incongruent music in the background, the special effects that they should have spent more than $15 on it. I don't know, throw an extra $3 at it. Maybe your ship at sea, toy boat. Well, look, yeah, it's just a toy boat. They point out the craziness that sometimes the directors, the editors, the actors, the choreographers, in some cases, inflict upon the public. And when the movies get crazy, they fight back. I still, to this day, there are still certain lines that, with zero context, I can still remember repeating to my buddies as we'd head back to regular class, all but bouncing off the walls, repeating the lines that just had brought us great joy and kind of as a group brought us together. There are certain lines that I can still say today that I will be able to trigger a recognition in another person, and we will quickly have a shared moment because It's like oh, you know that reference? I know that reference. That tells me something about you. That tells me that I can better connect with you. I think we're going to be friends, or we're certainly going to get along better than I would be with another stranger who doesn't know this reference, and it would take us longer to get to that same point of shared happiness. A lot of the people who are fans kind of divide MST3K up into multiple hosts. There were a lot of actors, writers, performers that came and went. It started with Joel Hodgson back when it was just a TV access. And actually, they don't generally they count those as a 0 year because those are just movies that played on Minneapolis public access television, and they riffed them live, which means the jokes are a bit more sporadic and not that good. I think we've probably all been in a movie theater where, there's that guy, he's usually back and to the left. He's very rarely back and to the right. Usually back and to the left, who has a joke or a sense of humor that he feels like he needs to constantly share with the movie theater. I've tried to be that guy. I very quickly recognized that I should not do so. I usually target my jokes for within friends that, okay, between us, I know you know me, we're going to whisper back and forth and we're going to make this movie better between us. Other than I very rarely now call out a movie for the entire audience. Really, I think the last time, I believe I was in the trailers for the Star Wars movie, and it's before the screening of the Star Wars movie, and they showed the sequel to Independence Day, and the fact that it was opening in June. And I had a moment that everybody shared with me. I've mostly got it out of my system. I've come to recognize that it takes a lot of hard work. In subsequent seasons, when it got transferred to cable, and I've read multiple behind-the-scenes and interviews, and almost all the writers have written their own books and shared their accounts about what it takes to create a crazy show like this. And they meant that they'd watch these heart-singeing, brain-melting movies over and over again, and they would just constantly be throwing out jokes, and somebody was tasked with typing them up, and they would go back through and try to pick the best of the best, and then they would perform it. And that's how you take a movie and you're able to add some intelligence to it. The fact that they're able to make it seem like they're making up the jokes on the fly, that they're able to deliver it with such energy and seeming spontaneity, it's really a testament to the people who are behind it. After Mr. Hodgson, Mike J. Nelson took over, and honestly, he's my favorite host. I think he's the one that I saw the most when I was growing up, though I appreciate all of them, to the point where the show went off the air for a while, and it was successfully brought back on Kickstarter. That's why I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for the mug, because it was part of the overall package, but it was a lot of money for a guy who had a very strict budget on Christmas. And having watched the countdown when they had the last couple of fundraisers to put them over the fundraising bit, right around the time when Netflix announced that we will air your show, I kicked them even more money than what I'd originally pledged. But that's when Jonah Heston joined the crew, and there's been a alternating series of the mad scientists over the years who have put them through these horrible experiments. And the different voices of, as the theme song explains, to keep his sanity, he created robot friends. But the sacrifice that was required to do that meant that the controls that operate when the movie begins or ends, those were what were used. So he's doomed to watch the movies, but he's no longer alone. Just sometimes when you're facing a crazy world, having someone sitting to your left or to your right, making jokes and letting you know that I'm here with you. We're going to see this through to the end, whatever it ends up being. There's a great comfort in that. And maybe I'm overthinking a concept where it's just a guy and his robot buddies making jokes at the expense of a really bad movie. I don't know. I think the world sometimes we don't need to take things so seriously, or we need to be able to laugh. To me, laughter is my primary go-to coping mechanism. I usually turn to that a little bit more quickly than I do sarcasm. which I would say in my family is our love language. In the face of a crazy world, going a little bit insane yourself isn't the nuttiest way to deal with it. In addition to 217 episodes that are out there in a full-length movie, which I'll admit, I don't like the movie as much just because they did a lot. Fans have done statistical analysis. They actually did a lot less jokes per minute. They tried to have better jokes a little bit less frequently, and I personally prefer the rapid-fire approach. But the groups have all kind of gone on, and they still they're touring to this day. The one that's most famous are riff tracks. They have taken the approach where it's still riffing. You no longer see them in silhouette along the bottom of the screen as the more contemporary MST3K usually had their jokes, walk into a theater, make jokes, walk out. They provide commentary tracks so that, have you ever thought that Walking Dead needs a lot more jokes? Did you ever think that, okay, I want to watch Twilight, but I need more to keep me interested than just sparkly vampires. I need people constantly making jokes at the expense of the poor judgment of Bella and Edward. Or Team Jacob. I mean, some people like the werewolf. If you're looking for that type of stuff when it comes to Game of Thrones or the Batman, most recent Batman movies, or if you really want to go back, the Batman serials, the black and white one that came even before Adam West, those are a trip. You'll wish to have Joel Schumacher bat nipples like you used to have. And actually, if they would riff that movie, that would be a more enjoyable experience. But the gist is that, especially when it comes to their Christmas shorts, has become mandatory watching in our holiday get-togethers. It's whether it's people singing about the healthy and society raising properties of pork, or the story of a little Christmas tree that screams when you chop him down. That's just how we celebrate Christmas in my family homes. Yes, we do need help. This type of stuff helps. That's the group of Mike Nelson, Kevin Murphy, and Bill Corbett. Some of the other people who were involved in Mystery Science Theater 3000 include the original Joel Hodgson, Frank Conniff, Trace Below, Mary Jo Pehl, and J. Elvis Weinstein. They've formed Cinematic Titanic, which by the title, once again, it's a gist where people are being forced to lay down commentary tracks of crazy movies. I like that Cinematic Titanic and Mystery Science Theater 3000 both took on Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, which that's another one that we definitely see the shorts. Sometimes we fall asleep because we're all getting older and there are more grandkids and great-grandkids in the house, and it's a lot easier to get exhausted. But the basic premise of the movie is that the earthly Santa Claus is kidnapped by Martians because the young children of the distant red planet have become lethargic and morose and don't seem to have much of a reason left to live. And so they kidnap our Santa Claus to bring the children joy. And what happens is an entire societal revolution, to the point where there's an attempted military coup to challenge the new world order that Santa Claus has brought to the fourth planet from the sun. You know, a kid's movie. Let's not mention the robot that tracks the kids through the frozen wastelands around the North Pole and forcibly kidnaps them against their will. You know, good old family holiday fun. The other movie that I personally love, and it is often a fan favorite, is Manos, The Hands of Fate. Ignoring the fact that in Spanish, Manos is hands, so it's Hands, The Hands of Fate. The premise of this wackadoodle movie, which you have to wonder, was this movie made on a bet? Yes, it was. A fertilizer salesman said, I can make a decent movie, and set about to prove it. And the gist of this movie is that this couple on vacation, their small dog and their little girl, one of which is they're going to lose, more than one of which they're going to lose track of throughout the movie, get lost, and they settle upon this isolated cabin, which is the home headquarters of the master, who is a head of a cult, and a small harem of women. And he has a a butler or groundskeeper of sort who is actually half human, half satyr. Not that this movie ever explains any of this, but that's why Torgo, the manservant, is constantly walking around awkwardly. You can't see that he's supposed to have fake hooves on his feet. But the idea is that he's fighting against the master to have a bride of his own, and it goes poorly for everybody involved. In general, just if you don't know where you are on vacation, ask for directions from noteworthy people. There's also a subplot in the movie where people make out for like the entirety of the action. Like for multiple hours, this couple's out in the desert just making out randomly. We should all aspire to such free time and friendly people. The gist of Mystery Science Theater in general is to take what would be a crazy experience and to enrich it through the help of friends and just shared incredulity. Just I can't believe we just watched that together. I don't know how we got through it. If it wasn't for the jokes, there wouldn't be any point. Personally, that's how I get through a lot of life. I look for good friends and just try to find the humor we can in the situation, even if we have to make it up for scratch ourselves. So, that's my advice to you, is that if you have the time, and because some of these episodes are multiple hours each, a lot of they usually trim down the full length. Some of the older versions of the box sets, actually, you can watch the originals in their entirety. I mean, please don't. I wouldn't recommend it. Some of them are really, really, really bad. Or then there's riff tracks where, like I said, you can even take a movie you like it and turn a serious movie into a comedy. Turn a comedy into even something else. I would encourage you to track down Cinematic Titanic riff tracks or the original, and still looking to generate laughs today, Mystery Science Theater 3000. This has been Caleb Smith with the Rocket Miner newspaper, coming to you from Talk of the Town, encouraging you to share what you love with others so that we can all laugh together. I wish you a good day and a good night.